Nerderotic.com.
Welcome back to the Nerderotic channel. My name is Gary Beekler, and I come to you from Nerderotic.com, and we have an article that is the latest spin, the latest excuse on why Doctor Who Season 11 failed. And yes, it failed. The ratings dropped significantly as the series went on. The fans are pissed off. This is not a divided fan base. This is a mostly pissed off fan base. Star Trek is a divided fan base. Star Wars, it's a divided fan base. I don't think it's very divided with Doctor Who. Why isn't Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who the lead character in her own damn show? Well, first I'm going to correct you, and we all do this, so I don't want to pass too much judgment on you. Why isn't Jodie Whittaker's Doctor the lead character in her own damn show? The impressions you're left with is that showrunner Chris Chibnall is simply more interested in his male characters than his female ones. Ah, poor Chris Chibnall. He thought he did everything right. He thought he wrote what everybody wanted to hear. He thought he wrote what the BBC wanted to hear. He read the Bechdel test backwards and forwards. He could probably recite it to you out of memory, and still they turn on him. And that's what happens. I don't use this term very much, but SJWs turn on their own. And this is the latest example. You are not safe, Chris Chibnall. We're 11 episodes into showrunner Chris Chibnall's new regime at Doctor Who now, a complete season, plus the New Year's special, and I've realized that there's something bugging me. What? That the show sucked? You are just realizing this now? Well, hey, it took some people a while to get there, but let's figure out where he's going with this. Actually, there are quite a lot of things bugging me. The endless telling not showing. I agree with that. The complete lack of subplots. I like where you're going with this. The scenes with so many characters that they look like a publicity shot for the polyphonic spree. That was pretty good. The dialogue so on the nose it makes you sneeze. That was a pretty decent dad joke. But most of those are obvious. And they've been there all along. And either they bother you or they don't. And if they don't, fair enough. Lucky you. Now, what is that supposed to mean? That it's been there all along throughout the entire run of Doctor Who, or just this season? If you meant all along, then up yours, buddy. There's another, though, that it took me an embarrassingly long time to spot. I wonder where he's going with this. Maybe the overuse of social justice politics? Jodie's facial expressions? Let's find out. Although, in my defense, it is hidden behind both the blizzard of preseason publicity and the single best thing about the entire season. Publicity first. The most obvious way in which the series changed this year, certainly the most obvious to normies, was the fact that for the first time, it had a female lead. The decision to cast Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor was the first thing we knew about Chibnall's take on the show, and for obvious reasons, it got a lot of publicity. And it's at this point in the article where he comes off with a hot take that nobody's ever come up with before. Most of this despite the inevitable warnings from pink-faced men in their 50s who have never really gotten over the fact that Tom Baker doesn't love them anymore and that they are now planning to boycott the show was incredibly positive. John, my friend, just looking at your picture, you look a little pink, man. Might want to get yourself checked out. And I want you to keep in mind when you go to a Bleeding Cool or an IO9 or a Mary Sue or a New Statesman, this is what they think of you, fans. He said angry 50-year-old pink dudes as a pink dude. And most of the time when you see the media or people on Twitter throw out toxic fandom, it's because the toxic fandom is responding to attacks like this, to crap like this. I'll get back to that. Let's go on with the article. You know, we all know where he's going with it. I just want to see how he gets there. So that was good. There was some disquiet when rumors appeared that the companion was going to be played by Bradley Walsh, as if the decision to cast a female doctor needed to be balanced by casting a middle-aged bloke in the part normally reserved for a young woman. But then he turned out to be just one of 3 companions, and the show has a long history of getting lightened types to act. And if Billie Piper, Catherine Tate, and Matt Lucas were all brilliant, why not the bloke who presents The Chase? Well, for one, Matt Lucas was not brilliant, one of the more annoying companions ever in the show. And lo, it came to pass that when the show was broadcast, Walsh's performance as Widower Graham O'Brien turned out to be really bloody good. It was pretty good. It was okay. It was decent. He was good in the show, but he was surrounded by so much ineptitude that maybe it just looked better than it really was. I don't know. Many of the series' best moments involved him acting in exactly sort of the understanding way you wouldn't expect from a game show host. And the main arc this season has concerned his attempts to be a father figure to his step-grandson, Ryan Tosin Cole, who was determined to have precisely none of it. And then he goes on to recap the worst episode of Doctor Who ever, Arachnids in the UK, and some tender moment that he and Ryan had, but then a giant spider interrupted it. But with the context of his argument, I had to tell you about it. I hate to bring that episode back up to your memories again, so I do apologize. But it's within the rather sweet, gradual thaw in his relationship that lies the problem. Because you might notice something about the storyline I just described. It sounds like a soap opera. It's about two men. What's more, it's a story that only happens at all because a female character dies pointlessly. In episode 1, it's an example of a trope known as fridging. He did not bring up fridging in Doctor Who season 11, in which horrible things happen to women, largely to kick off a storyline about a man. So if you're not familiar with fridging, it's something Gail Simone, a comic book writer, came up with. It refers to Green Lantern number 54 that came out in 1994, when Kyle Rayner, the Green Lantern of the time, comes home to find his girlfriend Alexandra killed by Major Force stuffed inside a refrigerator. And Gail Simone used this to vault into fame and got a website called Women in Refrigerators. Gail and some others took the time to write a list of women who were killed, maimed, or depowered in ways that treated the female character as merely a device to move a male character's story arc forward, totally ignoring the fact that plenty of men have been killed and disfigured in comics. And it's an argument for another day, but you have to remember that she lives in a country where millions of men have died to give her the right to make lists about fictional characters who have died in comic books. I digress, but that is a stretch talking about it in Doctor Who season 11. And again, I'm going to point out to Chris Chibnall, you thought you were in with the SJW crowd, but they will turn on you oh so quickly. And this is what's bugging me. Despite being the ostensible lead, Whittaker was given no material as meaty as Walsh or Cole. Meaty material. It was basic material at best, and maybe Jodie just couldn't handle the material. Maybe she passed all the screen tests and did everything she needed to do, but when she actually got on set, she couldn't handle it. Maybe that's what's behind all the production delays. I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point. This may have been a conscious choice to decenter the Doctor a bit, you think? And that may have been a good idea. All that Lonely God stuff had probably gone as far as it could. I don't agree. I think that could have gone a lot longer with good writers and a good actor. But they overshot and made the first female Doctor kind of, well, wet. Well, easy, buddy. What direction is this thing taking? She just didn't get to do very much. The impression you're left with is that Chibnall is simply more interested in his male characters than his female ones. You know, he brought up fridging. I'm wondering if he's going to bring up the Bechdel test. The Bechdel test is a way of measuring gender representation in fiction. To pass, a work needs to include a conversation between two named women about something other than a man. What? The Bechdel test is more of a guideline than a rule, but I think the BBC probably added to the Bechdel test. I think Doctor Who Season 11 is the Bechdel test. As it happens, I think the new season would pass this test. You think? I'm fairly sure there's a bit where the Doctor and Yaz are having a conversation about how to stop a spaceship-eating pig creature. But the point of the test is not that the work can only be valuable if it passes, but that it's a hilariously low bar, which most films still somehow bang straight into. Interesting choice of words there. Bang. By the same token, another interesting choice of words, it should have been easy when casting the first female Doctor, drink up everybody, to not end up telling a story largely about men. And yet, well, there you have it. The problem with Doctor Who Season 11, those pesky men. It wasn't Jodie Whittaker's acting, Chris Chibnall's writing, too many companions, too much political correctness. It was men. And who could have guessed that this article would have been written by a man? Now, show of hands out there, how many of you predicted we would see an article like this from the elitist access media? And here's a fun game. We can put this in the comments section. I want you to guess what kind of spin articles we're going to get from the media over the next year, and bonus no points for guessing what website writes it. Well, whatever they come up with, I'm sure they're going to call us an ist or a phobic of something. Maybe they can save their time by just calling us an istophobic. Maybe someday they'll figure out if they keep throwing out baseless accusations that those words tend to lose their weight. I have it on good authority the next gender swap story is going to be the girl who cried wolf. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, hey, thanks for listening this long. I'm on Twitter at Nerdrotics. We have a Facebook page, the Nerdrotic Podcast, and we have a Facebook group, the Nerdrotic Podcast Group. Please join us over there. I also have a website, nerdrotic.com, and we have our live stream schedule there. We do 3 open live streams a week, the Nerdrotic Nooner, Monday, Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific Time, and of course, Friday Night Tights with Susan Layton from 1428elm.com at 7 p.m. Pacific. Whether you like this show or hate this show, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I want you all to have a great day. Ciao.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.